Hello, everyone. Ooh, I think. Hello, everyone. So I got to adjust a couple things here. Doing a little housework, messing some stuff around with the house. But yeah, we're good to go. Hi, DMG's Jim here. Getting back into the swing, getting back into RTFM. Read the frickin' module, read the frickin' manual. We are reading the Dungeon Master's Guide 2024. We are about to pick up into Chapter 6, the cosmology, the setting behind the setting, the basic support system that the D&D world is built around. Before we go too far, as usual, we'll read the first part of the video will be just me reading word for word, line by line. And the second part will be a little bit of commentary. Sometimes a lot if it's something I'm passionate about. And forewarning, I love me some Planescape. So I may have some stuff to say about these sections as we go. But let's get into it. Chapter 6, Cosmology. First section is the planes. The planes of existence are realms of myth and mystery. They're not simply other worlds, but dimensions formed and governed by spiritual and elemental principles. They fall into the following categories. Material realms. Most D&D worlds are located on the material plane, which has two planar echoes, the Feywild and the Shadowfell. Transitive planes. The ethereal plane and the astral plane are boundless realms that provide passage between the other planes of existence. Inner planes, the four elemental planes, air, earth, fire, and water, plus the para-elemental planes between them are the inner planes. The outer planes. 17 outer planes correspond to the 9 alignments and the shades of philosophical difference between them. And then you have the positive and negative planes. These two planes enfold the rest of the cosmology, providing the raw forces of life and death that underlie all existence in the multiverse. The Great Wheel. The default D&D cosmology includes more than 24 planes detailed in this chapter. The most common understanding of these planes visualizes them as a group of concentric wheels with the material realms at the center. The inner planes form around a wheel around the material plane enveloped in the ethereal plane. Then the outer planes form another wheel around and behind, or above or below, that one arranged according to alignment with the outlands linking them all. Since the primary way of traveling from plane to plane is through magical portals, the spatial relationship between the different planes is largely theoretical. No being in the multiverse can look down and see the planes arranged like a diagram in a book. No mortal can verify whether Mount Celestia is sandwiched between Bitopia and Arcadia. Rather, this theoretical positioning is based on the philosophical shading among the three planes and the relative importance they give to law and good. Other configurations. For your campaign, you can use a different model of the planes. Here are several examples. Planes situated among the roots and branches of a great cosmic tree, literally or figuratively. Material realms suspended between two other realities. The astral realm, which includes the astral plane and the outer planes, and the elemental realms, the inner planes below. A cosmology with fewer planes. A material plane, the transitive planes, a single undifferentiated elemental plane where all four elements churn in chaos. An over heaven where good deities and celestials dwell, and an underworld where evil deities and fiends reside. Or planes arranged in a complex system of orbits, with planes exerting greater influence on the material plane the closer they draw to it. Okay, material realms. The material plane is where the philosophical and elemental forces of the other planes of existence collide in the jumbled existence of mortal life and matter. It is a thoroughly magical place reflected in the two planes that share its central place in the multiverse. The Feywild and the Shadowfell are parallel dimensions occupying the same cosmological space as the material plane. The landscapes of these three planes are similar, but those of the Feywild are more marvelous and whimsical, while those of the Shadowfell are more bleak and ominous. Passage between the material planes and the other realms is sometimes effortless and even accidental. Adventurers might enter a grove of trees on the material plane and suddenly find themselves in a lush, colorful forest on the Feywild, or a grim wood of dead trees on the Shadowfell. Inner planes. The inner planes surround the material planes and its echoes, providing the raw elemental substance from which all worlds were made. The four elemental planes, air, earth, fire, and water, form a ring around the material plane. The border regions between these planes are sometimes described as distinct planes in their own right, the para-elemental planes. These realms exemplify the physical essence and elements natural of air, earth, fire, and water. The entire substance of the elemental plane of fire, for example, is suffused with the fundamental nature of fire, energy, passion, transformation, and destruction. Even objects of solid brass or basalt seem to dance with flames in a manifestation of the vibrancy of the fire's dominion. At the innermost edge, where they are conceptually closest to the material plane, the four elemental planes and the four para-elemental planes resemble places on the material plane. The four elements mingle together as they do on the material plane, forming land, sea, and sky, but the dominant element strongly influences the environment, altering those locations' fundamental qualities. The inhabitants of this inner ring include Aarakocra, Azers, dragon turtles, gargoyles, genies, lizard folk, mephits, salamanders, and Zorn. Some originated on the material plane and all can travel to the material plane if they have access to the magic required and survive there. As the elemental planes extend farther from the material plane, they become increasingly unstable and hostile. In the outer regions, the elements exist in their purest form. Great expanses of solid earth, blazing fire, crystal clear waters, and unsullied air. Any foreign substance is extremely rare. Little air can be found in the outer reaches of the plane of earth, and earth is all but impossible to find in the outer reaches of plane of fire. These areas are much less hospitable to travelers from the material plane than the border regions are. Such regions are little known, so one who mentions the plane of fire, for example, usually means the border region. The outer regions are the domains of creatures formed of the pure elements, including air, earth, fire, and water elementals. They are also the domain of the elder elemental princes of evil, primordial beings of pure elemental fury. At the outermost extent of the elemental planes, the pure elements dissolve and bleed together in an unending tumult of clashing energies and colliding substances called the elemental chaos. Elementals can be found here as well, but they usually don't stay long, preferring the comfort of their native planes. The next section is the outer planes. Okay, if the inner planes are the raw matter and energy that make up the multiverse, the outer planes provide the direction, thought, and purpose for its construction. These are the realms of spirituality and thought, the spheres where celestials, fiends, and deities dwell. The plane of Elysium, for example, isn't merely a home for good creatures or where spirits of good creatures go when they die. It's the embodiment of goodness, a spiritual realm where evil cannot abide. It is as much of a state of being and of mind as it is a physical location. When discussing anything to do with deities and their realms, the language usually used must be highly metaphorical. Their actual homes aren't literally places at all, but exemplify the idea that the outer planes are realms of thought and spirit. The planes with an element of good in their nature are called the upper planes, while those with an element of evil are the lower planes. A plane's alignment, as shown in the outer planes table, is its essence, and a creature whose alignment doesn't match the plane's alignment experiences a sense of dissonance there. When a good creature visits Elysium, for example, it feels in tune with the plane, but an evil creature feels uncomfortable. The next thing we have is a chart. Charts and tables all through the book. So this is simple. The left column is listing the outer plane. The right column is listing the associated alignment. So the abyss is chaotic evil. Acheron is lawful evil with neutral tendencies. Arborea is chaotic good. Arcadia is lawful good with neutral tendencies. The Beastlands are chaotic good with neutral tendencies. Bitopia is lawful good with neutral tendencies. Carceri is chaotic evil with neutral tendencies. Elysium is pure neutral good. Gehenna is lawful evil with neutral tendencies, while Hades is pure neutral evil. Limbo is chaotic neutral. Mechanus is lawful neutral. Mount Celestia is lawful good, and the 9 hells are lawful evil. The Outlands are pure neutrality, while Pandemonium is chaotic evil with neutral tendencies, and Ysgard is chaotic good with neutral tendencies. So the upper planes are the homes of celestials. The lower planes are the homes of fiends. The planes in between host their own unique denizens. For example, Modrons are constructs that inhabit Mechanus, and Slotty are aberrations that thrive in limbo. As with the elemental planes, one can imagine the perceptible part of the outer planes as a border region, while extensive spiritual regions lie beyond ordinary sensory experience. Even in perceptible regions, appearances can be deceptive. Initially, an outer plane might appear hospitable and familiar to the natives of the material plane, but the landscape can change at the whim of a deity or other powerful forces that dwell on the plane, which can remake the realm completely, erasing and rebuilding existence to better fulfill the force's needs. Distance is a virtually meaningless concept in the outer planes. A perceptible region of a plane might seem quite small on one visit, and on another trip it can stretch to what seems like infinity. Adventurers could take a guided tour of the 9 hells from the first layer to the 9th in a single day if the powers of the 9 hells desire it. Or it could take weeks for travelers to make a grueling trek across a single layer. And here we have a little bit of art that kind of gives you a visual. I do like the updated art. I like the simplicity, yet the simplicity of the art for the outer planes is kind of cool. They did a good job of pairing them up with the idea of each of the planes. Quick and simple view. So, layers of the outer planes. Most outer planes include a number of distinct realms. These environments are often imagined as a stack of related parts of the same plane, so travelers refer to them as layers. For example, Mount Celestia resembles a sacred mountain with 7 great plateaus along its ascent, while the 9 hells is like a pit where the river Styx plunges down through 9 tiers, and the abyss has a seemingly endless number of layers. Like the planes themselves, the descriptions of layers is highly metaphorical and subject to varying interpretations. The plains of Carceri, for example, have been described as a long series of spherical worlds arranged like beads on a string, with each sphere consisting of 6 nested spheres, the layers of the plane. This fanciful description is but one attempt to make sense of the distorted geography of a place that isn't even a place in the ordinary sense of the word, but an alternate state of reality. Morse portals from elsewhere reach the first layer of a multi-layered plane. This layer is depicted as the top or bottom layer depending on that plane. As a revival point for most visitors, the first layer functions like an antechamber for that plane. Alignments in the outer planes. The outer planes are realms of thought and morality more than merely physical reality, and they can affect visitors on a deeply personal level as well as a physical one. At your discretion, a creature that spends a long time in an outer plane that is not its home plane can begin to take on aspects of that plane's ethos. Visitors to the upper planes might feel strange urges to perform deeds of kindness or compassion, while visitors to the lower planes might find themselves drawn to acts of cruelty or betrayal. Those who spend time on Mechanus and other lawful planes might feel their ties of loyalty to each other growing stronger, while those who visit Limbo and other chaotic planes might become temporarily more independent or self-absorbed. These tendencies are best handled as DM suggestions and then role-played by the players, but you might award heroic inspiration to characters who bring these characteristics to life for their characters. Planar dissonance. Celestials who visit the lower planes and fiends who visit the upper planes experience significant discomfort if their visit lasts for more than a few hours. After finishing a long rest on a plane that is alien to its nature, a celestial or fiend must make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, whenever that creature makes a D20 test, the creature must subtract 1d4, like Bane, from their roll. The effective is cumulative with each failed save and ends when the creature finishes a long rest on a plane that isn't opposed to its nature. We're going to go ahead and stop there. That's the end of our reading. That's the end of the audiobook mode. We're going to do a little bit of commentary here. First and foremost, this is a super simplified but adequate description of the planar cosmology. This is very, very, very much based on the 2nd edition Planescape and also 5th edition Planescape. They released Planescape Adventures in the Multiverse 2 years ago. So this is kind of recodifying the Planescape Cosmic Wheel as the basis for our cosmology. It also gives you information. If you want to do your own thing, you can do your own thing. Plane situated among the roots and the branches of a great cosmic tree, Yggdrasil, Yggdrasil, whatever you want to call it. It already exists in Planescape, but if you prefer that as your cosmology, then you use that. The material realm suspended between 2 other realities. That's the model for 4th edition. 4th edition broke away from the cosmic wheel entirely and gave us the astral realms and the ethereal realms, the endless chaos and the astral sea, if you will. If 17 is too much for you and you want to go with just 9 and ignore some of the others, then you can do that. If you need to go to just 2, you can do that. So this is a little bit of information to describe the options for you to describe a planar cosmology. What is a cosmology important for? If you have divine magic coming into your world, where is that coming from? Do the gods walk the earth amongst the people, or do the gods have their own places, their own heavens, their own hells, their own nirvanas, their own whatever terms you use? If you are using divine magic and a separated cosmology for your divine powers, you have to have some sort of model for it. Likewise, if you have devils and demons and elementals running amok in your world, where are they coming from? Are they native? Devils and demons all live on the material plane with us. It is just what it is. They don't necessarily go to hell. They just go to a deep cave. Cool, if that's how you want to explain it. But when you start incorporating extraplanar beings into your campaigns, then you need to explain where those extraplanar beings came from. Where does the power for my resurrect come from? Where does the devil come from versus demon? All those things can kind of come into play. And that's why we deal with a cosmology. Nothing more than to provide us lore and structure and background to explain the existence of certain kinds of magic and certain creatures and certain beings. That's it. That we're using a lot of big words, a lot of fancy terms, a lot of big hand movements to try to describe these things. But the reality is, you need a system to explain why these things exist in your game world. Whatever you decide to do, as long as your players can engage with it and buy into it, then you're good to go. If it breaks the immersion for your players, you may need to go back to the drawing board and look at a different cosmology. Now, all of that being said, what has been presented here is sufficient to start with, and there's a lot more information available for these planes in older edition content. There's second edition Planescape will give you a lifetime's worth of books and lore to read through, and more adventure ideas and more adventure hooks and starts than you could ever play through in 5 lifetimes of playing D&D 10 hours a day. I promise you, there's no lack of content for the Outer Planes. Start with this section, start with Chapter 6, and if it piques your interest, then you go looking into other content. If it starts making your head spin, then you look at some of the options, the other configurations to explain your extraplanar beings. Okay, that's it. Quick, short video. We'll be back on the next one with planar travel. This is going to give you the information to move your players among the outer planes, among the inner planes, among the cosmic wheel, if that's what you're going to do. So last little comment here. Keep in mind that each of these sections will be referring to the cosmic wheel as the model. Okay, if you choose to do your own thing, there's no worries. Most of this stuff will still apply. Just make sure that you're going to have to make changes to the wording and changes to the transit paths if you're using a different model for your cosmology. DM Geezer Chim here. Thank you for hanging out. Love going through this book. Like getting back into it. I'd love to hear back from you on comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you would like to hear more of, less of. Jump over on Twitch with us if you want to join us for a live chat as well. We're there 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time, Tuesdays through Saturdays. I'd love to have you join us for a conversation. But above all else, thank you for your time, and I hope to see you back for the next episode. See you soon.